Her is one of my favorite films. You will know that if you have seen my top 50 favorite films video. And it's my favorite film from the romance genre, but it's so much more. I've seen it 4 times as of now, and it becomes better upon every rewatch. I'm making this video just to talk about how the film affected me personally and how it helped me grow and learn as a person. Her is a movie about a lonely man in the near future. There's not much in terms of plot, it's just about a man sort of existing. And that's understandably not for everyone. There are a few films too where nothing much happens and it did not interest me at all. But Her just clicks for me. It is by far the most human film, and I have emotionally resonated with it like no other film. Our protagonist is Theodore Twombly. He's alone, and we see that. He's always by himself, walking alone, wandering aimlessly. In many shots where he's talking to his friends, he's usually in the frame by himself, with negative space beside him to show his loneliness, while who he's talking to is often with someone else. But our character does have a want, and he does have internal conflict. Theodore wants to be loved. He wishes to fall in love and not be so lonely anymore. This is something we can relate to. This film spoke to me on a personal level. Loneliness is something we all have felt, and we can project ourselves onto Theodore. His internal struggle is that of dealing with a divorce. This hurts him because he had grown up with his wife and part of him still longs for her. And Theodore does try out new relationships. He goes on a date with another woman and it goes really well until he is asked whether he can be serious about the relationship and he is unsure. And this is his flaw. Theodore's inability to deal with the seriousness of a relationship. This flaw is also pointed out by his ex-wife Catherine. Theodore's loneliness is also shown through his surroundings. He is mostly disconnected from the outside world, wallowing in his own self pity. But the film is empathetic towards him. It feels for Theodore and it makes us feel for him. In many shots, you see him and the city out of focus in the background. It shows us how he's out of touch with the outside world, and when he's genuinely in a good place, you see him in focus along with his surroundings. Theodore is often shot in close ups, making us feel like we're with him in that moment. It feels very subjective. The film's visual look also adds to this. This is one of the most beautiful looking films I've ever seen, and the film portrays the look of a future utopia. But it isn't too flashy, it's simple, and it doesn't feel many years ahead. We can clearly tell that there have been technological advancements, but not to an extent where the city is completely unrecognizable from what we have today. Theodore often wears these bright red clothing, which makes him stand out from the comparatively dull background. But there are also these beautiful shots. We feel the warmth of the sunlight. Many times the place is lit with the cold and harsh blue lights of the night where Theodore often sleeps alone. The colors and cinematography reflect the emotional state of the protagonist and lets us know where he is mentally. But along in his life comes an operating system, Samantha, played by Scarlett Johansson, who has a beautiful voice. They fall in love, but it isn't forced. You get why they fall in love. Despite Samantha being an artificial intelligent life form, she has feelings and thoughts which make her feel human, which is why Theodore connects with her instantly. After his loneliness, he finds someone he can talk to, someone he can confide in. Samantha too works as a character. She also has her own personal want, which makes her feel like a real person, other than the fact that she has feelings. Since Samantha is an operating system, she doesn't have a physical body, and she longs for that very thing. Samantha feels jealous of Theodore's wife, Catherine, because she has a body, and she often wonders what it would be like to be physically present with him in the room. She longs for physical contact. All of this plays into the theme of what is love and how we as people have become disconnected. It's many things and it doesn't at all feel bloated in any way. It handles all of this with simplicity. The themes are explored through the use of its characters. Theodore represents loneliness and Samantha represents the advancements in technology. They find comfort in each other. Theodore feels less lonely and Samantha feels more human. Also, this film has the most realistic portrayal of conversations. Now, I'm not saying every film needs to have realistic dialogue to be good. I mean, I always love a memorable one liner.
I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster.
You talking to me? I know Kung Fu.
But for this particular tone, it captures conversations perfectly. I have talked like them. They talk about each other's feelings, little silly thoughts they had without any judgment. It even captures tiny details of a conversation, such as accidentally interrupting each other or subtly changing the topic to yourself when someone is talking about something else, or even talking about something that's important to you and being a little disappointed knowing that the listener is distracted. Human beings are weird and we say weird things to each other that don't always have to make sense. I have talked to people and have experienced all of this. This authenticity made me believe in their relationship even more and made them feel like me. I could see parts of myself in these characters that never felt like vessels for exploring theme, but human beings. Another theme of the film is how it explores humanity. Humans aren't perfect. Theodore is not perfect. Cinema isn't about perfect people always making the right decisions, they're about people making mistakes and learning from them. Theodore says many sweet and heartfelt things. His profession is that of writing letters, and we often hear from other people about how beautiful his letters are. But Theodore is flawed. He does sometimes say the wrong things, and he has to face consequences for it. Sometimes friends don't feel like talking to each other, and we realize their value when we are not with them. This film also explores what it's like to be in a relationship. Theodore is going through a divorce, and there are scenes where he's in front of Catherine, and the film cuts to a series of montages in the past when Theodore and Catherine were newly married and were in love. And you see this, and it feels nice and warm and comforting, but then it cuts back to Theodore's face, and that cut provides it new context. These moments go from lovely montages to fond memories Theodore is looking back on to remind himself of what he has now lost. And what adds to the brutality is that when these montages play, the background noise is still that of where Theodore is currently present. You see past versions of him and Catherine having a good time, but you still hear the wind and the rustling of trees where Theodore is actually thinking about this. It works because it shows us that despite Theodore wants to live in that past life, the present never left him. This film tells us that relationships can be meaningful and beautiful, and it feels great to be able to share your life with someone. But it also has its challenges. Relationships can be messy and disorganized, they can be chaotic and tough to manage, but we have to be strong willed to face whatever comes our way. And if our relationship did not work, it's okay, and we can learn from our mistakes and try to do better next time. In a scene where Theodore is talking to Samantha, he gently says,
Beautiful.
and that line resonated with me because he's not talking about how she looks because she doesn't have a physical form. Instead, he thinks she's beautiful as an entity, and I find that very heartfelt. Even the music of the film is phenomenal. Many times it accompanies the scene it's playing in and is a major factor of making us feel how Theodore feels. Many times it's diegetic and Theodore can actually listen to it because Samantha is the one who made these musical pieces that are actually part of the score of the film. We relate to Theodore. I relate to him. In many instances, I felt like him. Her is a film about many things. Our connection with technology, it's about loneliness and how to combat it, the pros and cons of a relationship and how flawed we are, and how our flaws make us more unique and innately human. Films are empathizing machines, and this film made me realize the power of cinema, how it puts us in the shoes of another person and lets us look at the world from their point of view. Her is one of those films to personally impact me, along with its masterful technical side. It's a piece of art that genuinely made me feel things. It made me feel okay about the feelings I've been feeling, and it made me feel like I am not alone. Thank you for watching.